Hello, hello. All right. So today we're going to kick off a new playlist that I'm putting together about eating out. And I wanted to talk to you about my history with eating out because I want you to understand where I started from with that relationship with food and restaurants and where I am today. And I want to encourage you to not feel like you can't change. So when I was growing up, food was erratic in my home as far as grocery shopping, meal preparation, things like that. And so we ate out a lot, even though financially we couldn't afford to eat out a lot. So we would frequent restaurants, good things, we go to eat out, bad things, we go to eat out because dinner wasn't prepared, we go to eat out. A lot of eating out. So I have a lot of attachment to going to restaurants. When I moved out on my own, I really didn't even know how to cook. Okay, so of course, eating out made a lot of sense, right? So I have all this baggage. And then, of course, the message that's sent a lot of times for people is, hey, eat up while we're here. This is dinner. This is lunch. And I would hear that, we're maybe not going to eat again later. So eat up while you're here, aka overeat. Now, I know my experience with eating out as a child might not be what yours is, but there are some commonalities I hear from clients and stuff, which might be like, hey, eating out was very rare, so it's super special, so I feel like I should indulge because I didn't get to do it that often as a kid. Or parents didn't cook, eating out was very common, feels very comforting. Thus, I don't necessarily want to be restrictive when I eat out. Right now, a lot of people are going back to eating out after not doing it for a few years all that often. And so we're trying to all kind of find our footing with this, right? So that's where I was as a kid. As I matured into adulthood, I took a lot of those bad practices with me. Food was still for indulgence when we eat out. I used to secretly look forward to people saying, hey, let me take you out for dinner. You know why? Because I didn't have to cook. I thought this is a huge reward. I don't have to cook. Perfect. And because we're eating out, there was like this little switch in my brain that said if my goal was weight loss at the time, now I had like this weird permission to indulge because we're eating in a restaurant. The game has changed, right? So there's all this chatter, lower brain chatter, going on in my head about eating out. So then I decided when I turned 30, you know my story, right? Hopefully, that I decided I wanted to change my habits. At the same time, I found Dave Ramsey. This is super important because I want you to really get a good glimpse into my life. During that time, eating out was happening so frequently, I was paying sometimes double per month for eating out over what I was paying in rent. Joel and I, before kids, this is important, before kids, if our rent at the time was $500, we were spending up to $1,000 on eating out. Neither of us was cooking. Every night we would do the same dance around this. Oh, he'd say, what are we eating for dinner? I said, I don't know, what are you cooking? And we were codependent with food. So we ended up at restaurants a good majority of the time. And these were not meal away from home restaurants. These were not green light restaurants. These were all you can eat buffets. These were pizza places. We had a real big issue with eating out, the financial burden of eating out, and our weight, all of it. So around the same time I find Dave Ramsey. Now this actually helped me a lot. Because I had created a budget for eating out, I had to live within that budget, but my mind was still crazy when it came to eating out. Like, it was like a drug almost. Like I couldn't wrap my head around eating out in a non-indulgent way. I couldn't wrap my head around limiting how often I was eating out. Like all of it felt so big to me. This was probably habitually wise, besides tracking and meal planning, one of the big pushes that I had to work on that felt super hard, because walking was easy. I mean, yeah, physically hurt, but this was like mentally hard. It was hard to walk into a restaurant, hard to order something that wasn't quote unquote indulgent, hard to limit the amount of times I was going to eat out in a week. all of that was difficult for me, okay? This took a lot of work. I will say my entire process of reinventing myself with eating out has taken at least 10 years for it to feel comfortable, meaning I don't think that much about it anymore. Now this is my new way of doing things. But for a long time, it was a mental fight. And I just want to put that out there because I know sometimes you'll hear people, experts, say, oh, when you go out to eat, here's some simple tips. Don't get a caloric beverage. Don't order the dessert. Don't order the appetizer. Box up half your meal. And those are all great practical applications. Totally not going to dismiss that. But if you were like me, up in your head with how you thought about eating out, you might have been hearing all those words and like inside screaming like, heck no, that's all the fun. What are you doing? Yes, that's going to cut all my calories, but that's a freaking miserable experience, right? So I realized I had my work cut out for me. So there are other videos I've already done on how I had to start to classify eating out, either as meal away from home or indulgence, and I'm going to put that in the show in the notes with this video so you can check those out. I had to create green light restaurants because what I had to do was start to compartmentalize eating out. Like I couldn't treat it like a free-for-all every time. I had to put some healthy boundaries in for Heather, with Heather, about this eating out experience. I also had to be super intentional with planning in indulgences. Like, okay, so I can't pull indulgences completely out of the mix. So like if I had my budget and I was looking at, okay, we're gonna eat out 8 times this month, right? Which would have probably been drastically reduced from what I had been doing. I might have said, okay, maybe 2 of those are indulgences, 6 of those are meals away from home. Now that may not even been the ratio I started with month 1. It might have been, hey, let's do 1 meal away from home and let's do the rest as indulgences, right? But I had to baby step my way there. Now, that took time. 10 plus years of practicing this stuff before it feels normal. It's gonna all feel foreign to you. So do not rush yourself through this experience. Realize it took me 20 plus years to build up those habits with eating out. It was gonna take equal or less time actually for me to get to a place where it wasn't as big of a deal, okay? So all of those concepts really resonated with me because all it was just learning how to see it differently. I also had to look at how was I getting rewarded eating out without it being a food reward. That was big. Everything about eating out was about the food. I started looking at what are some other things that as a mom, wife, a woman, when I go out to eat, that I can say, oh, this is something, it's like something taken off my to-do list or something that's done for me that I would do for somebody else. Like how am I getting pampered and taken care of in this experience in a way that isn't just food-based, that allows me to feel cared for. I had to change my whole mindset around that. I'm gonna do another video on that a little bit later. But I just wanna have this high-level conversation because in this last couple weeks in the Half Size Meat community, a lot of questions have come up about eating out. How do I start to change my relationship with eating out? Eating out is the issue that's conflicting me on my weight loss and it's causing me problems. How do I get past it? Most of the issue is in your brain, and here's how I know. I had a call with 2 different clients on the exact same day. One client tells me, oh, eating out's not hard. Most places have healthy options. I just order those things. And she's doing great. She's losing weight. She's journaling. She eats out multiple times a week, if not daily. She has a different mindset about it. She thinks she pursues restaurants that have healthy options most of the time. She treats it like a meal away from home. She actually used the words, this isn't that difficult. Restaurants, almost all restaurants have something I can make work. Then I get on with another client, just the opposite. Oh my God, this is so hard. Every time I go out to eat, I'm finding it hard to journal. I'm finding it hard to make a decision. I'm finding it hard to say no to this, that, and the other. It's all in our thinking. It's really not in the restaurant issue itself. It's how we think about eating out. It's our relationship with that experience. It's all the baggage we bring into it. It's the looking at it through the lens of how am I being, how is this not fair versus, oh, this is awesome. All these things are available. It's all our perception. Restaurants aren't going anywhere. People are not wanting to live in caves. They're going to go out to eat. You're going to be, and I probably at this point have been eating out on average 2 to 3 times a week. Most of these, almost all of these, have been either green light restaurants or me ordering strategically because it's not an indulgence for me. And I also had to define what's indulgent worthy. Is my great cousin Uncle Bob's birthday that I got invited to indulgent worthy? No, I had to create my own list of what do I feel worthy of indulging in a restaurant, having a higher calorie meal where I get to have what I really want and I don't really worry about it. I had to create those boundaries. So I just wanted to have this high level talk with you. One, so you know, this was like a real struggle for me, number one. Number two, it can get better for sure. And it's all mental perception. It's all how you deal with the lower brain chatter around it, how you manage that little toddler inside your head, how you start to create healthy, loving boundaries for yourself. And really just kind of like slowly, gently eking forward with this and let it take however long it takes. It's really not a problem, because unless you're going to get, unless you're deciding tomorrow to just gain back all the weight and just whatever, you're going to continue to move forward in this journey. So I hope this video helps. Please like and subscribe. And like I said, I'm going to put the other videos I mentioned about eating out in this show notes for this video. But I also am going to be creating a playlist for eating out just so you guys can have easy access to all these videos. You have a great day. Please like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.